Good afternoon. I'm Val Nielsen, Senior Director of Tax at the J.R. Simplot Company and Associated Taxpayer of Idaho Chair. I'm honored to be part of such a longstanding, respected group as ATI. We are proud to continue the tradition of being Idaho's trusted, unbiased resource for fact-finding and taxpayer perspective. We help bridge the gap between taxpayers, legislators, and policymakers. The ATI provides up-to-date information throughout the legislative season and brings together taxpayers and decision makers from both parties. We are a diverse group of members from large to small businesses, local governments, and individual taxpayers. We are also a member organization that wouldn't exist without all your support. Thank you for that support. If you're interested in joining ATI and being part of our 74-year-old remarkable organization, you can go to the ATI website for membership information. Our sincere thanks to all the service and guidance of the following outgoing board members: Edward Lodge, formerly with CenturyLink; Del Ryrie, retired from Winco; Kyle Kitterman, formerly with IHFA; Nathan Anderson with Union Pacific, now covering a new region; Lloyd Phyllis, formerly with Clearwater Paper; John Goody, retired from EDIFOS; Arlen Whitrock, retired from ON Semiconductor. Our sincere thanks to all the service and guidance of the following. We are also happy to welcome to our new board members, Jennifer Summers with CenturyLink, Jennifer Bennett at Winco Foods, Wayne Millward with IHFA, Ben Goody with EDIFOS, Kerry Cook from Albertsons, Jason Ronk in his new role with Regents Blue Shield of Idaho, Mark Wynn with Lamb Weston, and Aaron Hunt, now covering the new region for Union Pacific. And now to our keynote speaker. Governor Brad Little graduated from the University of Idaho in 1977 with a Bachelor's of Science in Agribusiness and has worked in the ranching industry for his entire professional life. I must admit that I have a lot of respect for Governor Brad because I grew up on a farm in Western Idaho, and anybody that can be successful and know how to work hard enough to make a farm successful has my respect and admiration. Brad is an Emmett native who was raised on his family's sheep and cattle ranching operation, Little Land and Livestock. And this has been noted many times. His company was one of the first of ATI's founding members in 1946. He first served in public office in 2001 when he was selected to fill a Senate vacancy, serving our 4 consecutive terms, including being elected Republican Party leadership as Majority Caucus Chair. On January 6, 2009, he was elected Idaho's 37th Lieutenant Governor, and he became governor on January 7, 2019. ATI works closely with the governor's office and know he and his staff are always thinking about taxpayers when making decisions. It's truly been a historic year, and we applaud the governor for his leadership and his level-headed common sense in moving Idaho forward. With that, please welcome Governor Brad Little.
Thank you, Val. I know some of you are thinking, if I was a member in 1946, I don't look that old, but COVID does strange things to you. It doesn't make you younger, believe me. So I always want to thank the Associated Taxpayers. As Val indicated, we've been members throughout the entire history of this great organization. I look forward to coming to the Associated Taxpayers, but you all look a lot different over this screen than you do in real life. And I look forward to us all getting together next year. It is no overstatement to say Idaho's economy is strengthening. For the 4th straight month, as you heard from Alex this morning, the economy has performed better than projected. USA Facts, which compares the states all the time, just this week, I was getting some data from them, and they compare Idaho to these other states. We are first in our change in state revenues from the second quarter this year compared to the second quarter of last year. And that's reflected in the budget deficit that Alex talked about. We're third best in the least amount of jobs lost per COVID case. We're number one for the share of businesses that report a large negative effect on business due to COVID. In other words, our businesses were the least impacted of all the states. In large part, we have our businesses and the business community to thank for that. Idaho businesses have demonstrated great resiliency and agility during the pandemic and have done a great job in protecting their workers and their patrons. However, our fight with COVID-19 is far from over. In all parts of the state, we are seeing increased community spread, which has a direct impact on the capacity in our healthcare system. We should all care about the impact of COVID-19 on our healthcare system. When too many healthcare workers are out sick and too many COVID patients take up hospital resources, like what we are seeing happening across the state, and for that matters all across the country right now, access to quality healthcare becomes limited for everyone. A surprising number of people still think COVID-19 is no more dangerous than the flu. It is, especially in older folks. Sadly, in Idaho, we've lost today nearly 1,000 of our fellow Idahoans to COVID-19, compared to a few dozen Idahoans who die from flu complications every year. Thousands of Idahoans of all ages have been hospitalized. And in fact, 40% of the people hospitalized because of COVID are in their 40s and 50s or younger. COVID-19 has truly impacted our workforce in Idaho. We don't want people sick and not able to work. Today, we stand at a precipice. Our healthcare leaders say we're only a few weeks away from possibly implementing crisis standards of care, essentially rationing care at the doors of their facilities and being forced to offer a lower quality of care if we do not do more to slow the spread of this dangerous virus. What we do in the coming weeks and months will determine whether we can continue our economic rebound, protect lives, and keep our kids in school. I ask for your support in helping to slow the spread of this dangerous virus in our communities. We all need to wear masks in public, keep our distance from others, not in our household, and we cannot relent in those efforts. But before COVID, we were dealing with the opportunities and the challenges of growth in Idaho. And now, during the pandemic, we're still dealing with the same issue. More and more people are moving to Idaho. That's why our historic investments in broadband infrastructure have been so important. We put $50 million in CARES dollars towards the investment this year, putting us among the top states to do that. And our focus on broadband investment will continue. The funds went toward more than 100 projects across Idaho that will significantly improve broadband infrastructure, equipment, and services to support student remote learning, to increase work from home opportunities, to improve government services, to improve telehealth, all increasing economic opportunities for Idaho long term. Our labor force reached historic levels last month, highlighting the critical need to continue investing in education and workforce development. Idaho's economy is doing phenomenally well compared to other states, and we hope that holds if Idahoans can do the right thing, wear their masks, and limit that physical distancing and social gatherings. Idaho is the #1 state for economic momentum, and my favorite, we're the #1 for personal income growth over the past year. Our budget we lead in financial solvency. Our budget surplus, a record of over $500 million, and my budget director let the numbers out earlier this morning. We're getting close to $600 million. And, that's phenomenal. That's astounding, because these are bigger surpluses than we forecast pre-pandemic. Our pension fund is one of the nation's best. Our unemployment liability is again in the top 5, and perhaps today the most solvent. Part of our success in advancing is our continued diversification of our economy, the best way to achieve long-term sustainable strength in our economy. Our state budget is sound, but since I am at an ATI event, I will remind the members, Idaho is in a unique situation, being one of the only states to be able to consider some form of both tax relief and IRS tax conformance. If we continue down this path, I will advance my priorities for increased investments in education and transportation infrastructure in the upcoming session. I'm pleased that infrastructure will be one of your next panels. Good job, McGill. We must keep pace with the growth we're experiencing, and additional investments in these critical areas are needed. Most of the steps we've taken to support business during the pandemic grew out of recommendations from my Economic Rebound Advisory Group. These include rebound grants of more than $75 million to 8,700 small businesses. We provided personal protective equipment for 4,600 businesses to let them open with confidence. Idaho also created a unique program that leverages federal coronavirus relief funds to cover local public safety personnel salaries and gives cities and counties the opportunity to pass on $125 million to property taxpayers. This offered somewhere between 10 and 20% reduction in property tax bills this year across 42 municipalities. We assured Idaho's Unemployment Trust Fund remains solvent. Idaho's small businesses and employers will not see huge tax increases next year after the $200 million transfer to prevent an automatic doubling in unemployment insurance taxes next year. This move encourages more hiring and business profitability. We incentivized return to work for 32,000 Idahoans and 5,100 businesses with our Idaho Returns to Work program. The move helped move Idaho into one of the best employment rates in the country. We supported childcare businesses so that they could safely stay open to support children in Idaho's workforce. We should continue programs and incentives for businesses to offer quality childcare in the future. We've also made historic investments in K-12 public education during the pandemic to support students, families, and a strong economic rebound. Public schools are constitutionally mandated and our moral obligation. The benefits accrue to students, families, communities, and our economy. While most states face budget cuts across government, including education, Idaho is one of the only states that significantly increased funds to schools, directing nearly 11% more to education during the pandemic. Idaho directed $60 million to K-12 schools for safe reopening, for personal protective equipment, for bridging the digital divide, for increased connectivity, and for testing of teachers and staff. Idaho directed $99 million to K-12 public schools to ensure public schools experience zero reduction in funding. In order to support our schools, the State Board of Education also put in place a rule on how we count students, moving from average daily attendance, bodies and seats, to enrollment count, which covers schools delivering hybrid and online options for schools. This helps reassure schools and keeps them focused on delivering learning to all students rather than worried about counting and funding. We will closely monitor this rule and how it affects schools. We'll know more in the coming weeks. Idaho also directed $50 million to the Strong Families, Strong Students initiative to assist parents in the educational needs of their children in their homes. We emphasize the expectation early on that students need to be back in their classrooms for in-person as much as possible during the pandemic. Idaho created a framework for reopening to guide local school officials in their decisions for reopening schools. Out of our 115 school districts, all but 3 are open for in-person learning or a combination of in-person and remote. I look forward to working with the legislature to make the necessary investments and programs to help our schools address any gaps caused by the pandemic. Higher education also received about $55 million in federal COVID relief, 3 times more than what was cut with the 5% general fund reductions. Until we have a widely available vaccine for COVID-19, we will need to continue to focus our efforts on protecting our neighbors while still supporting our economy. Our COVID-19 Vaccine Advisory Committee is hard at work on Idaho's vaccine distribution plan. The initial supply of vaccine is expected to be limited. Although the federal government has not addressed all the priorities, the vaccine will first be offered to our healthcare workers. We're told that the states will receive an initial supply of vaccine by mid-December. We have a comprehensive plan for delivery of a safe and effective vaccine to Idahoans on an expedited schedule. I'm hopeful and prayerful that in 150 to 180 days, life will be much more normal with increased immunity and warmer days. Today, the leadership of your local school board, your public health boards, your commissioners, your mayors, and city council members all have very challenging jobs. I encourage you to engage and support those leaders so we can continue our economic rebound, protect lives, and keep our kids in school. Thank you to Val and McGill and ATI for inviting me. I've been coming to this conference for about 40 years. This conference continues to be one of the most important by virtue of this great organization, its members, officers, and all the attendees for discussing priorities for the upcoming session. I look forward to meeting with you in person next year. Thank you very much.
Governor, thank you so much for being here with us today, for those comments, for all of your leadership. Val pointed it out very eloquently in his introduction that we're very proud and honored to have you as our governor through these. I think I remember Speaker Bedke ended our session with the Chinese proverb slash curse, may you live in interesting times. And you have indeed been leading us through very interesting times. And the ATI thanks you for your support and thanks you for being here today, and very much send our appreciation to you.
Thanks, Miguel. Thank you.
We are now going to take about a 30-minute break. Well, actually about a 40-minute break. And our first afternoon panel will be at 1 p.m. So we will see you back then. Thank you.